Welcome to another episode of Fear the Old Lore, where we examine the English and Japanese text of games for more insight into their lore. One piece of information that's often taken for granted is how Maliketh is said to have sealed Destined Death or the Rune of Death within himself. Part of the reason for this is how the English version of the Mending Rune of the Death Prince says, "The Golden Order was created by confining Destined Death," which inadvertently makes it sound as though the Golden Order began by sealing or confining Destined Death. The Japanese for this line is a bit different though, and is more along the lines of Enia's dialogue, specifying that the Golden Order was created upon plucking or removing the Rune of Death from the Elden Ring. The issue here is that it's unclear what it means when Scouring Black Flame says, "When Maliketh sealed Destined Death, the true power of the Black Flame was lost, because there are arguably two times Destined Death could have been sealed. The time Maliketh put Destined Death within his blade, or the time he sealed the blade within himself." In either case, I think it's important to stress the fact that the Golden Order's creation is contingent upon Destined Death's removal from the Elden Ring, meaning sealing Destined Death happened after the fact. One reason this is important is because some have taken Maliketh sealing Destined Death within himself after the Night of Black Knives to mean that's when the Golden Order was created. The problem with this is that in order for Godwyn to die, Ranni had to have stolen a fragment of the Rune of Death, meaning it was no longer part of the Elden Ring, so the Golden Order should have already existed. In other words, Maliketh sealing the Rune of Death within himself cannot be when the Golden Order was created. However, as I mentioned earlier, sealing Destined Death isn't the same as removing the Rune of Death from the Elden Ring, which raises some interesting questions about Destined Death and its relationship to the rest of the world. For instance, if the true power of Black Flame was lost once Maliketh sealed Destined Death, does that mean Black Flame functioned properly until Maliketh sealed the Black Blade within himself? Or was its power lost when Maliketh put Destined Death within the blade itself? While I really like the former idea, I'm not too sure how well it works out that the power of slaying gods could have been active until the Night of the Black Knives, because Ranni could have presumably just used Black Flame to kill Godwyn, unless she needed the power of Destined Death to destroy her Empyrean flesh or something like that. Anyway, I think Black Flame retaining its power after the defeat of the gloam-eyed queen is a neat idea, and is something I'm going to play around with a bit more. Although it isn't definitive when or how Destined Death was sealed, I think having this information helps open avenues of inquiry into the Rune of Death that were previously closed off. I know Enia says the Rune of Death was plucked from the Golden Order upon its creation, so it's still possible to come to this conclusion based on the English version of the game, but if there's anyone else out there like me who outweighs potentially biased NPC dialogue with limited omniscient item descriptions, then I can completely understand why they'd think differently. There is a lot more I'd like to say about the subject, but in the interest of keeping this video brief and letting people form their own conclusions, I think I'm going to end things here. If you guys have more questions or want to discuss more, feel free to use the comment section or join my Discord where we have a laid-back and active community that loves discussing lore. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking, subscribing, playing Bloodborne, petting a dog, or pressing the notification bell so you can be informed when I release a new video or start a new stream. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and channel members for their continued support since it helps motivate me to continue making these kinds of videos. You can become one for as little as $1 a month and receive permanent access to my secret Discord channel where I post pictures of the world's blurriest dog. Until next time. Fear the Old Lore.